Yes, yes. Welcome to Duburbia Podcast. I'm your host, Selecta J Cut. Joining me today, I'd like to thank my special guest, David Asher. He's from David Asher Band, The Process, and he also does the On You Sound Sunday Roast. I'm going to let you take it away and kind of introduce yourself and give a little further information about your past and what you're currently doing here. David?
Greetings, John. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on the show. It's an interesting concept you've got there, and an interesting little movement you've got started there. It's I've been following it for a little bit of time, and you're shining a light on some deserving things. So that's good. You know, everybody needs to do their bit to showcase what they love, right? But I've been doing this music thing for about, I want to say, a little bit over 30 years, maybe a little bit longer. I started in the mid 80s and the late 80s with a band called The Process, and we were we're like a reggae rock group. And you know, in our earlier years, we played a lot of different styles of music, everything from thrash metal to reggae to dub, lots of things like that. But as we kind of matured, we kind of settled down more into like a reggae groove. And but The Process was a very theatrical group, and we used a lot of live stage props, lasers, even like explosions and stuff that, you know, like rock bands do. You know, I mean, the reggae bands don't do that kind of stuff. And but we did end up crossing reggae over to quite a few people in our home state of Michigan that maybe weren't reggae fans before they heard us and ended up liking us and liking reggae music. But so that went on many years, and lots of adventures and stories and albums and different members of the group. We started out was myself and Garrett Cohen, the guitarist, started back, I guess, really about 87 or something like that, or somewhere in the late 80s. And I had gotten inspired by some sounds I had heard coming out of the UK, which was the On You Sound label. And those guys kind of gave me a clue. Yeah, they gave me a clue as to how to put together this fusion in my mind of where I could fuse, you know, rock, punk, funk, reggae, everything, you know, even thrash or whatever, just do whatever. And they, you know, so they gave me the inspiration to do it. I thought, well, these guys are doing it. Of course, if I'd have really known what they were going to do, even from that point on, I might have been too intimidated to even get started. But we went for it anyway. We were pretty naive, and we practiced like fanatics. And I mean, we used to have a little house down south of Flint that we'd rehearse in. So we work in Saginaw, which is about an hour and some, every night till, you know, whenever, and get out of work and grab a spliff and grab our amps and drive down there and play 3 or 4 hours and write a bunch of songs and then come back home. Nice. So that's, you know, when our first album came out in 91, which was Mystery Babylon, which was a home produced recording and had some good tunes on it. But we did another one in 92, and then 93 we did our first dub project, I guess, was 94. So we did several albums with The Process. Started getting more national attention around the time that we did 1996's Craven Dog was an album that was real popular across the Midwest mostly, but it did make some inroads for us. And then, you know, we kept at it. We toured a little bit. We did a live radio show out in LA that we made an album out of. And in the end, we did another one in 2002 called Blood and Bones, which was another one that was picked up by a national independent. I think the Orchard carries it, but they don't carry any physical products now. It's download only. So if you want to get Blood and Bones, it's download only. And then from there, a couple more years went on. I guess we started work on Who Was That Mad Band around 2007 or so. Well, we did the Lion of Judah project in between there with Ghetto Priest and Skip. And those people, and Adrian and Congo Natty, all those people got involved in that project, and David Harrell. And so then that set the stage for the full-length album, which came in 2015 finally, which was Who Was That Mad Band? And then there was a dub mix after that, which we put out called Dub World. And then World, John's got it. And like right around that time, you know, we had started the bass player, and our friend encouraged me to do more of a roots reggae project where we, you know, play fun, a few obscure covers that we could shine a light on, and then you know, maybe do some of our own tunes. Just kind of start out with all the expectations and all of the baggage that went along with being in The Process. You know, we could just go out and actually play the music. And so I was intrigued by that, and we started up, and so we had, you know, Derek Davis got involved on drums, and then a few other people joined up and kind of came and went when we first started. But Seth passed away of a brain tumor in 2018, and but we didn't really stop. He wouldn't have wanted us to, and we didn't. And so our bass player, Bill Petzel, went from keyboards over to bass. And basically, we didn't really even miss a gig or anything. We just kept on going. And if Bill wouldn't have put that work in, it wouldn't have happened. But now we have a full-length album done, and we did some of it here in Michigan, and we did some of it over in the UK last summer. And Adrian Sherwood did a couple mixes on it for us, and Mickey Sound does vocals on it. So it's but I'm real happy with it. It was going to be an album of covers, and then about halfway through recording it, I got bit by a little bit of a writing bug. And so I hadn't really been writing that much. We had just come off this big mad band project, and I kind of thought that maybe I didn't have that many ideas flowing, but then they started popping all of a sudden. So there ended up being like 5 new originals on the album as well. So we redid a process tune, and we wrote a couple new originals. So nice. Yeah, so that's what we can expect with it. As far as the release date, I can't say exactly for sure. I'm waiting, looking at options and what we're going to do, but we definitely plan on doing vinyl this time. And cool. So there's going to be a vinyl record made of this one, and a CD, and flash drives or whatever other kind of stuff we're supposed to put the music on nowadays for people to listen to it in their cars or their homes. Right. You obviously love vinyl. You've got some bunch of CDs there, I'm sure. But, a lot of people don't even, the new cars don't even have CD players in them. So you got to have a flash drive. So we got to get a little flashy stick made up of the music and everything else. But yeah, it's real exciting. It's a real exciting thing. I'm anxious to let everybody hear what we did with Adrian last summer. And so, yeah, it's awesome. It's nice. It's an awesome release. Yeah.
And when is that expected?
Well, hopefully before the end of the year. We had hoped June, and then the pandemic hit, and then all kinds of other stuff went on. And, we'd like to have some shows that we can use to promote it. But if not, we'll do the best we can. We can't sit on it forever. Right. It's like labor, the baby is ready,
You have to find different routes at this point.
Yeah, we're working on the cover art right now, and, kind of taking our time with that because we're anxious to get it out, but the time will be right when it comes out. That's all I can say. Vinyl takes forever to manufacture anyways, So
yeah, that's understandable.
A long time. So yeah, I'm hoping for the end of the year. We originally had planned for June. We would have made it as far as the actual finishing the album part, but as far as all the stuff that goes into it after that, we were not ready. So yeah. Everything takes longer than you think it's going to.
Well, I'm glad you're doing it. It must have been nice pleasure to work with Adrian Sherwood, I bet.
It's always a pleasure. And this time I stayed over there with him, and he's got a sweet little manor over there in Ramsgate, which is, if you think in England, I guess this would be France and this would be England or whatever. Ramsgate's on the edge of the coast of England. It's an old city, and when I flew into London, the last time was 2015. And I came again here last summer, and I couldn't believe how much London had changed. I mean, a lot of old torn down, a lot of new gone up, a lot of futuristic looking, skyscraperish looking buildings, and a lot of the old stuff just gone, because the money is apparently flowing in there. But Ramsgate, time stands still in that city for some reason. It's a strange thing. It's so, everything's so old and nothing new being built, which means no money's coming in there, nobody's investing. But the plus side of that is everything has its charm, that it originally had, but it's a cool city. It's like the whole coast side is like a Roman road built by these giant blocks. And then they light that up at night with like green neon. So it's quite breathtaking, really. And then, you can stay right over the harbor. But yeah, he's got this little manor, and it's actually 2 houses. It's separated by a garden, and so yeah, I'm a little directionally challenged, and so I had a little trouble finding my way around to get to the studio, which is in the other house, and then through the garden, and it took me a good couple of days to get my bearings in that place, and then of course, the showers are different there, and and a little bit of adjusting, it's not like they don't speak English, fortunately they do, but. But yeah, so Adrian's got a great scene around him all the time. I got reunited. I got to see Skip, which was a highlight for me. We didn't play any music together this time, but we had a real nice reunion because we've had him over here twice to Michigan too. he came over here and stayed twice with me. He came up with Matt Donahue from Mad 45, the old Universe crew guys. Those guys are from Ohio.
Oh.
And they've been working with Adrian with Green Tea Records since the early 90s. And, I knew who they were. I'd never really heard their music, but I used to think, who are these guys down in Ohio working with Adrian Sherwood, And then I get over there and Adrian's like, well, you must meet our friend Matt. He's a great guy. He's from Ohio. And,
cool.
He's a teacher
that's
like you. And I said, well,
I'd like to
remember
build
that?
a network of On You Sound friends, across the country. And because it seems like.
Yeah, he's right down in Ohio. He's like 3 hours away from me. I could drive down there. We can meet. He's come up and DJ'd a few shows with us too. Because we usually have a DJ play in between our sets because we play like 3 hours and then we would take breaks. And but yeah, he came up and he brought Skip twice. So Skip did 2 shows with us in Bay City, and that was a couple of years back. Now time goes by so fast. But yeah, so he's I saw him when I was over there. Got to see Ghetto Priest, and we've done a few different records with him now. And but I especially am proud of Return the Treasures, the song from Who Is That Mad Band. I love that one, and I like Lion of Judah Hath Prevailed too as well, both of those. But yeah, so he was there, and then I got to see Mickey and my friend Simon, and Adrian and Matt. Matt is engineer. Adrian's got 2 different engineers, and he's got Matt and Dave McEwen, and they're both great to work with. So yeah, it was a really, really fun, productive time. I mean, Adrian works quick. And it's just really a pleasure to watch him work because he doesn't write anything down, and he mixes everything analog just like scientists would, I imagine. And so he's got a laptop feeding the analog feed into the mixing board, and he learns the whole board. He learns the whole board, and I mean, he's got stuff. Certain things, he's got the kick drum where the kick drum's normally going to be, and he kind of groups things where he sort of knows where stuff is. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff popping off he has to learn. And he's like an octopus. I mean, his hands going. I mean, the stuff that he does, it's just a real pleasure to watch him work. And if you had that unique experience of being there with him when he's doing it, seeing him do it live would be another thing. But to actually be sitting there on the couch with him was a great experience. Every time that we got to work with him was great. So we've done 3 projects with him now, several songs. If you add it all up, which reminds me, I'm supposed to send that stuff to Michael Hodgson from Pitch Black because he's picking my brain. For that Sherwood Productions for something he's doing. So I'll have to dig out my CDs tonight and figure out what he wants.
I wanted to mention real quick for all the viewers out there, this compilation, you said it's a Dutch compilation, right?
Yeah, Dub Flash is the label.
Yeah, this has a Return the Treasures and the Dub, which are both produced by Adrian Sherwood with Ghetto Priest and Skip and Little X, right?
Right, exactly.
So,
yeah,
I believe it's still available.
Yeah, you can get that online, the vinyl for sure, and it's available as a download and a CD too. But those tracks are only available on the vinyl, so those are vinyl only exclusive.
Oh, that's right. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, they're vinyl only exclusives. But yeah, that was a real interesting thing, the way that track came together, Return the Treasures, because back in the 1800s, Emperor Tedros kidnapped some British people from the British legation because he wanted to get Queen Victoria's help in fighting the Mahdists, the Muslims that were attacking the exterior of the empire. And so he was trying to get help from the British, and she was ignoring him, although they had previously had a somewhat cordial relationship. And she sent him a gun, actually. It said, "To my faithful servant," a little silver-handled pistol, which had a kind of a spooky, it comes back in the story. But anyway, so he kidnapped these people to get her attention. And her response was to send an invasionary force in. And so the invasionary force attacked the citadel of Magdala, where they had a lot of ancient Orthodox Christian talbots, ancient scriptures that written down like tapestries, really. And some of the crown jewels were held there as well, and including the emperor's personal crown jewels. And so anyway, they invaded, and they ended up killing everyone. Killed the emperor, committed suicide with the silver-handled pistol that she gave him. And the British scalped him, took his locks, nailed him to the wall of the British Museum, along with the treasures that they kept. And they've had them since this day. It's another thing that is a cultural theft that happened because of this, And they also kidnapped the emperor's son, I believe it was his son. And he died there at about the age of 11 because he couldn't stand the damp weather. So he got pleurisy or something. So he's buried there in the family plot with Queen Victoria. Actually, he was raised in the royal household. But anyway, so fast forward up to just a couple of years ago, a gentleman named Seymour MacLean, who was a Rasta elder from London, approached me on Facebook. I'd friended him, or he friended me. I can't tell you, I couldn't remember, but he's a real deal heavy guy. But he friended me on Facebook and asked me to write a song to draw attention to the plight of the treasures. So I looked him up a little bit more, and he's known as, there's a movie about him called The Book Liberator, because what he had done is he'd gone into the British National Museum and liberated books that had to do with African identity. And some of them were a little bit, modern, like People magazines. But if they had African stories in them, he took them. And he started his own reading room in South London. But he got in trouble for that, of course, for stealing these books or taking these, repossessing the books, I guess, is what repossessing the cultural history. So he took that stuff and he got in trouble, and he got thrown in Wormwood Scrubs for 6 months. So he was in prison for 6 months for this. So anyway, I thought about it. I thought, well, that's an interesting concept. And I started banging it around in my brain. Anyway, it kind of went to the back of my brain. And then he passed. He passed kind of suddenly. And so I thought, well, geez, I felt his spirit speak to me very strongly when that happened. Now, do it now. That's what I heard. So, and I knew that I was going over to England to record, and I had set the session up to do one of Skip's songs, to do our version of one of Skip's songs, and let him produce it and see where it went, which ended up being Time Has Come. But so I went out in the back porch with my guitar, and I sketched out the bare bones of the song, just like the first verse, the bridge, and the part of the chorus. And so then I went in and did the drums and bass and the scratch guitar and a scratch vocal and the vocal where I had vocals. And then that's what I took with me over there. And then Skip got with me and totally rearranged the song. I mean, Skip really had a lot to do with the way the actual arrangement came out. And then we got Ghetto Priest involved on it too. And he knew Seymour MacLean as well. He'd been an elder in his life as well. So it was a really nice project. And it hasn't been played enough yet to let people know to call. I don't think it's called enough attention to the treasures needing to be returned. I mean, you see every other day somebody's returning something to Ethiopia. So many people have Ethiopian artifacts, but the British National Museum especially is they're egregious. They need to return the treasures. Yeah.
Well, we do have that. We have that track. I can go ahead and run the song if you want to take a quick.
Hey, run the track, Selecta.
All right, here it comes. Yeah, that's a real
Yeah,
nice
man.
tune there. I'm glad that that one got released on wax. Hopefully, there's many more to come soon.
Yeah.
Just wanted to mention. So David had reached out to me a few years ago, actually, when you released "Who Is That Mad Band," and asked me to do a review, which I had never really written any reviews or anything at the time. The Culture Clash had been going around in my mind for a while, but that's what kind of gave me the spark to start the website. So I wrote that
Yeah,
review
that's
and
cool.
sent
You
it.
were just getting started. I remember. I
Yeah, and
remember.
then I
Yeah.
kind of slacked off a little, and a year or so later, you released the Dub World, and I remember you sent me a copy of that, and it kind of revamped my website again. So I thought it was a good idea to bring you on to the podcast now that I started
Well,
it up.
that's great, John. I'm glad I gave a little spark.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody
much
needs that
appreciated.
sometimes. Everybody needs that little spark.
Yeah,
You
and
know.
I think it was that On You Sound connection. I think I'd probably posted some kind of On You Sound mix or something, and you had reached out to me after that. And so,
I've loved those guys since the '80s, the early '80s, and it took me a minute to really understand the whole cosmology of it. But by the early '90s, I think I had a pretty good handle on who the principal players were and what the whole thing was. But it's been really even more than having the pleasure of being able to work with those guys who were such inspirations to me. So many of them on so many levels was just to find out that they're really, really wonderful people. That to me was the real pleasure in my life. I mean, and find out that they say don't meet your heroes, but that certainly hasn't been my case with them.
well,
They, they're,
that's good
they're
to hear.
they're real good humans. So
I've always kind of felt that from the vibe from the music and everybody involved. So it's good to hear from that firsthand from somebody that knows them.
yeah,
That's
the
cool.
one fella I haven't met yet is Mark Stewart. I'm real keen on meeting him. Next
Yeah, me
time I'm tracking
too.
him down.
He
I'm
actually
trying to track him down next time I get over there, one way or another.
he actually
So,
shared my podcast last week. I had mentioned
did
one
he?
of his new record with that obsolete capitalism. I have it up on the wall behind me.
Oh, yeah, I haven't heard
Yeah,
that yet. I need to hear that.
it's pretty interesting. Yeah, it's nice. It's on my it's on the latest mix on Mixcloud.
Oh, I have to check that out. Yeah, I haven't. I've been following him. Actually I've been picking out some of his earlier records that I missed on Discogs lately. Like I just bought Code and a couple other ones, and yeah, they're all pretty awesome. I mean, he's amazing. I liked the stuff that he did, the last couple things that he did, solo stuff.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, and even everything he's done through his whole career, I think that as the veneer of democracy starts to fade, that was one of the most influential albums to me in my high school years. And
He's a unique artist because he has a real evolution, and you can follow it, and it kind of goes along with what you maybe guess might be his mind. But it starts out real paranoia of the state is how it begins, his journey, and then it over the next couple of albums, it kind of the focus sharpens like a laser beam to a real personal paranoia. It
right,
becomes real personal. It changes, it shifts to the personal paranoia. And then eventually, to me, it spreads out. I mean, the paranoia is, it's a beautiful thing when it shatters because it kind of spreads out across the heavens. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but it reminds me of satellite dishes, like a cry going out through the universe on these giant
yeah,
speakers.
it's hit my soul for
Marcus is
me for
brilliant.
sure.
Yeah, he's brilliant. I mean, and there's nobody like him either, nobody quite like him. But yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is his paranoia becomes universal at the end, at the end of his journey, and that's where he's at right now. But we hope it's not the end because he keeps doing stuff. I mean, he's just keeps pushing the envelope.
Right. Um, Here I'll run another one of the On You Sound produced tracks. Let's see. Donkey Jawbone. That's a dab. That's one of the new
Yeah,
dabs.
that's a new one that Adrian mixed.
Yeah, I'll run that one real quick. I'll go to the full screen. So if you want to take a quick break here.
Cool.
a stone. Samson slew the Philistines, yeah, with a donkey jawbone. Donkey jawbone, yeah. I donkey jawbone. Donkey jawbone, yeah. Rasta donkey jawbone. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were cast in the fire but never get burned. Daniel went down in the lion's den. Fools thought they would never see him again. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were cast in the fire but never get burned. Daniel went down in the lion's den. Fools thought they would never see him again. Donkey jawbone, yeah. Rasta donkey jawbone. Donkey jawbone, yeah. I donkey jawbone.
Yes, that was Donkey Jawbone by Dab, David Asher Band, who I have with me at Duburbia Podcast. That was one of the ones you did with Sherwood.
Yeah, that was last summer. We mixed that in Ramsgate. Adrian did. Yep, and yeah, this is a pleasure to watch him work.
That was a nice tune. I'll play another one. Maybe you want to say something about it. 47 Shots.
Yeah, that's another one of the originals from the new album, and that is written for a man named Milton Hall, who was executed by the Saginaw police, firing squad style. So I mean, you can do a little research and see the murder. It's on YouTube. It's not a pretty thing to watch, but it's there were 47 shots fired by 6 officers, and so yeah, it was. Well, the song tells the story pretty much, so no reason for me to tell it.
I'll run a minute of the tune here.
All right.
Was a cup of coffee that may have not been paid for. He was angry that morning and he had no warning. The clerk called 911, the cops were on their way. 47 shots rang out in the Saginaw air. 47 shots and 6 officers all were there. Though he was mentally ill and armed with just a knife, 47 shots rang out and snuffed Milton Hall's life. Execution style, they gunned him down.
Okay, we're back.
Yeah, man.
Was that one, did you say you recorded that one in the UK too, or was that recorded?
No, that one was one of the more recent ones we did that. We work with a guy in Saginaw named Chris Lewis.
Oh, okay.
And, so that we did that with Chris, and even the basic tracks that we take over to the UK, we usually start them with him,
right.
But that's the guy we've been working with since Who Is That Mad Band? About that time, because we did Line of Judah with Bernard Terry. He's an R&B producer from Flint, and that's we started that with him, and then took the tracks to the UK and finished them there. Yeah, nice. So that album kind of came. It was a long process. I mean, it started with the Line of Judah single, and then just gradually built up over time. I guess that was released in 2011, and that was the first one that we did with those guys. And then the album finally came out in 2015, the full length album. So
Nice. What about the dub album, Dub World? How did that come about? And who are some of the producers you worked with on that one?
well, again, mostly the same people. We worked with the legendary Detroit rock guitarist Dick Wagner, who's known for his work with Lou Reed and Peter Gabriel and of course Alice Cooper, and other people, lots of people. And but he was an old friend of mine, and he came in and did the guitar on Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which we remixed on the Dub World album. I forget what it's called. It's got a Specie title, but anyway, it's on there, and the titles on there are kind of fun. But we never really quit working on between those two albums. Once we wrapped the one album up and then went right at the dubs. And I mainly, I knew that we were kind of living on borrowed time with Seth, and I wanted to, get him as involved as we could while he was able to work and was up for it, which he definitely was. And I started that album pretty much with me and Seth working on it together, and finished it with just me and Chris, together, because Seth was unable to continue. But so that was another transitional thing that happened in the middle of the recording. And Seth actually didn't end up being that involved in that album as I had hoped, but I still was really happy with how it turned out. And we got mixes from Skip McDonald on there, and then again, still Ghetto Priest is on there as well. But it's all in a dub. It's in a dub style, and I was pretty happy with how the dubs that we were able to put together on our end of things held up with the other stuff. Even with the Anya Sound stuff, I was pretty pleased that our stuff was sonically in that zone. I felt like we finally were getting there.
Yeah, through and through, it's definitely a solid album. We got a couple tunes from it. I'll run this Magnetosphere with Little Axe.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Calling to keep that man from falling. Walk along brightly, marching hand in hand down that road together.
I say to all these words are not premature. These words may be too late.
And we're back.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that one a lot too.
Yeah, there's an unreleased vocal mix that Skip did of that's going to be coming out on Dr. Strange Dub's the Echo Chamber thing that he does every year. He puts out this double disc download of dub music from around the world.
Oh, okay.
It's free. I don't know if you're aware of it. They're pretty good stuff on it usually.
I've heard the name. I'm gonna have to look into that though.
Yeah, go to their website. You can find it. There's they're all double volumes, and I think they're up to volume 7 and 8 now or something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, so we had this one track on it, one of them a couple years ago, but now this Little Axe track, the full vocal mix of that dub is going to be on this release. So he wanted something from me and I didn't have a whole lot laying around, so I gave him that because I've never released it. So
That's cool. I'll let another one run off of that one. It's called Android Specie. Which what's the what original tune that one is?
that would have been Tribute to the Heroes, I believe. Shredded.
Here we go.
Lost audio on my end. There you go. Oh, lost it again. something glitching.
It's probably the internet connection. I
Oh yeah,
think it
yeah.
looks
They
like
get
everything
tricky.
is streaming okay here, but
Yeah,
might be a little glitchy there.
yeah.
All right, so that was a couple tunes off of the Dub World album. Um, oh, we haven't really mentioned the On You Sound Sunday roast. You want to
Oh
tell me
yeah.
how
So
you got
yeah,
involved with
I,
that?
I have the awesome task or whatever you want to call it of hosting this Ani Sound radio show. It's their official radio program, and it's on DWR online radio once a month. And myself and a little cabal of Ani Sound fans are helping keeping the show fresh. And we're coming up very shortly to our 50th episode, but it's been a monthly thing that we've done, and we take little themes and run with it sometimes. Like, we'll have people do mixes or remixes of, but overall it's just a bunch of different stuff from the various groups that are involved with Anya Sound and the associated acts that work with Anya Sound. So it's not strictly all Sherwood stuff, but there's still a ton of stuff and it's always really high quality. I'm really proud of what we've been able to do with it. And we make it like an old time radio show in a way. We bring in sound effects and, William Burroughs sounds and, Andy Fairley and all the people, all the characters, that, like Emperor Roscoe, and keep all them and Prince Far Eye. We tie the whole thing together with all their voices.
Nice.
So, but it's been a real pleasure to do it. They asked me, I guess, it's been a couple of years ago, and almost 3 years that they asked me to do it. And it's been a real honor and a pleasure. And I get to hear lots of stuff that is, not come out yet, and then I get to kind of cherry pick what I'm going to seed the shows with to, get people excited about upcoming releases. I'm really, really excited about the new Denise Sherwood release. I've been playing stuff from that for the last 2 years. I don't even think she knew I was playing and stuff, but everyone's real excited because of that, partially at least. And and everyone that's heard
Pay
it.
It All Back 7 was really nice.
Yeah, and that tune on that, the Ghost Heart, and all the other great tunes that are on the album, and we've kind of shined a little light on it over the last few months. And but I'm really excited to hear it. I'm glad that it's finally coming out, and I guess it's going to be October will be the full release. But yeah.
Are there any other On You Sound releases that you can mention that you know of?
Well, Adrian's been working on this thing called Dub No Frontiers, which is an album with female vocalists from all over the world. I mean, he's got women from every continent on it, and he's been working on it literally like something like 15 years. I mean, I think he sees it as his grand masterpiece, maybe, or tour de force. I don't know. I mean, he's really. He doesn't want to rush it now because he's taking this long with it. And Denise's album took just about that long too, because they just, it just grew kind of organically, and, sometimes you can force art and it'll come out good. And sometimes it'll sound rushed or forced. And, Adrian's not interested in rushing stuff. He's got to be satisfied with it. And so when that album does come out, I've heard little bits of it. I've been privileged to hear bits of it, and it's phenomenal. It might be one of his greatest things, and he's done so much. So, that's in the pipeline. There's a Horace Andy album in the pipeline that's coming out here. We pray next year. There's new Jeb Loy Nichols. There's Ghetto Priest. There's all kinds of exciting stuff bubbling up with Anya Sound. So, I'm hoping 2021 this turns out to be a better year than this struggle that we faced this year. But we've all kept it together pretty well, considering, how it's been a real travail, especially for people in the music business. But we're all kind of pulling together for each other, and in a way, it's all right. It's going to be all right. I think. Just hopefully we can move past it, and we'll see what the new normal might be.
It's got to change the dynamics a little bit in the music industry. I don't know what's.
Oh yeah, hugely. Yeah, hugely. I just don't see it going back to the way it was until something changes. Can't. It can't. But there's going to be something that's going to come along and take its place, some new reality for musicians. And, it could be the internet, it could be some kind of, they'll figure something out there. If there's a way to make money, they'll figure it out.
Yeah, there's always going to be need for music too. So.
Yeah, that's right. That's the most important part.
I'm going to backtrack a little. I'll run this Rapdown. It says it's from Blood and Bones.
Yeah, that's from 2002.
them in a big rain cloud. Then Jah hold them with a lightning bolt. Jah hold them in the east, Rasta catch them in the west. Jah fire burn them in the north and the south. Hold them in a big rain cloud. Then Jah hold them with a lightning bolt. Jah hold them in the east, Rasta catch them in the west. Jah fire burn them in the north and the south. Burn! Over the hills and across the sea, devil governments have their way. Here at home, across the sea, just say devil governments have to pay. Jah Jah hold them in a big rain cloud. Then Jah hold them with a lightning bolt. Jah hold them in the east, Rasta catch them in the west. Jah fire burn them in the north and the south. Hold them in a big rain cloud. Then Jah hold them with a lightning bolt. Jah hold them in the east, Rasta catch them in the west. Jah fire burn them in the north and the south.
And we're back.
Yeah.
So that one was from 1991, is that right?
No, that was actually 2002. That's from Blood and Bones. That was produced by R&B producer G. Pierce. Yeah, Dayton family represent. I don't know if you know who the Dayton family are, the Midwest rappers.
I know a little bit of Dayton family. I know the name. I love hip hop, but
You probably should check out some early Dayton family then. Yeah, I mean it's real. It's OG gangster rap, but some awesome beats and flows from those guys from Flint, Michigan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So yeah, G worked with those guys, and we have a record. I've been sitting on it for quite a while because, sometimes it comes down to your life. You know what I mean? It comes down to your life and how you want to treat your life or the people who are around you. I mean, how much of a martyr can you go out and be? You know what I mean? How much do you want to be at the end of the day? You know what I mean? You have to. So it's a balance. It's a balance. It really every day is a balance because you want to hardcore commit to what you are committed to. You know what I mean? And stay that path. But at the same time, sometimes, even a river goes around. You know what I mean? If it meets a rock, it'll wear it down over time. But you know what I mean? That's as you get older, and that's kind of what wisdom teaches you is the ways to survive. Because if you're too visible, like the higher the monkey climbs, the more he exposes. That's the old Jamaican saying. And the more you're out there in the public eye, the more exposed you are. So that's the other thing too, that to try to walk that path and not stray too far. Because when I was younger, I was pretty an activist and pretty outspoken. Pretty outspoken and got kind of known just because of that. You know what I mean? Really, when it really is the music that I got into this business for.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one great thing about reggae music to me is it's social justice music. It
is by nature. Yeah. That's why, in the end, that's what appealed to me about it. Like who was the first reggae artist you listened to, John?
Well, I gotta say, Bob Marley was probably one of the first I heard, but maybe Musical Youth before that even.
Yeah.
I was watching MTV, it'd be like the occasional reggae video that had come on, and then it was like probably from there, Steel Pulse, Black Uhuru, and the punk bands, Police, The Clash,
Right. So were you listening to Bob when Bob was still alive?
No, it would have been like 82, 83 probably that I first heard Bob Marley. Well,
see, now I'm old, right? So, I grew up in the 60s and as a kid in the 60s. So I heard like the Israelites and My Boy Lollipop, and I've heard some of that old stuff, and I knew what reggae was. But when I first heard Eric Clapton do And I Shot the Sheriff, I didn't really recognize that as what reggae was, you know what I mean? And but then finally, I heard Marley, not so much that I never heard it on the radio. Nobody ever played me a record. But I was familiar with Chris Blackwell, the producer.
Yeah.
And I was familiar with him and with Island Records. And I used to buy every album from Traffic. That was my rock band in the 70s, Traffic. And so he always produced those Traffic albums. And I knew that he ran Island Records and did Brian Eno. Roxy Music and other cool groups that I remember looking at the sleeves going, oh, this is good. So then I saw Bob Marley, Exodus, and like Burning Spear Live, a couple other reggae albums on that. So I went looking through Marley because I knew Blackwell. That's really Chris Blackwell directly led me to Bob Marley. And I saw the album Kaya, and I think it was Bob's Smile. I saw that smile, the smile on that cover, that beguiled me. And I flipped it over and I saw that giant burning spliff on the back cover. And so I thought, oh, I got to get this. And this is produced by Chris Blackwell and Bob Marley. And took it home, and I was hooked. Like by the end of the week, I had like 10 Marley albums. I spent whatever pocket change I had. I tried to get every one of them I could, But even then, it took me a long time to decode what in the world he was saying. You know what I mean? What was he really saying? And that took, that wasn't any like little quick weekend study. That took like a lifetime to understand. You know what I mean? But after Bob passed, I started getting into other great reggae artists. That's when he passed. I started getting into Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer, and then Gregory, and then one day, someday I figured it out. It's like I woke up to the reality that there were thousands of these guys. There's thousands of them. Maybe not that many studio players, but there's thousands of singers and chanters, that do this music that are all talented, like stars in the sky or sands on the beach. They're there. They're there to be discovered. It's a deep ocean with lots of mystery reggae music. You never get to the bottom or swim across it. It's too big, too wide.
I got a couple tunes that I haven't played yet. I can run this. The Lion of Judah hath prevailed. That's with Ghetto Priest.
Yes.
Off of who was that mad band?
Yeah, we'll keep the fire burning, Sitting like nations on a monument, smiling at grief. Blood, sweat, and tears for the sake of peace. He sits upon the highest regions, overlooking all. The heart of a cave is the heart of a fall. When I see the lightning and I hear the thunder, I know man and woman have made a blunder. Jah makes the winds his messengers, flaming fire his ministers. At his words the mountains rose and the valleys sank down. The Lion of Judah hath prevailed. Hail the kings of kings, praise his name. The Lion of Judah hath prevailed. The footsteps of his majesty is not in vain.
And we're back.
Yeah, man.
So you've worked with Ghetto Priest. You said on several different projects. You've worked with him on some of his own projects, or has he always been on yours? Or
always been on our projects. Well, the first one was the Process meets Ghetto Priest. So that was both of us together, and that Adrian was on that, and then George Oban was on it. Oswald Basie, George Oban, and then Congo Natty, and of course Skip and Mickey. So that ended up being a pretty big project for an EP. We did an EP of that with a bunch of different David Harrow, a bunch of different mixes. And so then we did, after we did that one, which actually I was not there when they did that, when I sent them the stuff and they did it and sent it back to me. So it reminds me of like being a kid at Christmas when you get stuff like that. You remember you'd be excited and you get a toy at Christmas, but now you're a grown man and you're just as excited to get music back that you just know it's going to be awesome, but you don't know what it's going to be. You know it's going to be a surprise, and it's going to be a wonderful surprise. I can't express to you how that feels, But now I usually go over there now and deal with it that way. So it's still a surprise though, and always wonderful. But so then we did the Who Was That Mad Band, which we did basically. There were several different collaborations with several different members, but there were two songs really that we did, which was Return the Treasures and Time Has Come. Those were the two that we did. And then they've been reversioned a couple different ways. But then I said, like, Ghetto Priest's on a couple other tracks on there and a couple other people. We did a record with Scientist also in between those two. where he remixed that the Fire is Burning track. So we did a little EP with Scientist, and David Harrow did a track on that. So so David Harrow is on both those albums too as well. So there's different little branches and umbrellas coming into it, but that's kind of the way it came together, really. I mean, as I got to know people, they got involved in the projects. So then we did this last year again 2 more tracks that have beautiful instrumentals. We worked with Cello Man. He plays cello on a lot of the Anya Sound stuff, and him and Mickey did this like 16-piece orchestra on one of the tracks. Which is just really beautiful. Yeah, I'm really, really happy with how that turned out. And then our horn guy, Nick Pena, he plays all the brass and all the saxes, and the guy's just multi-talented. He rolls up to the studio in a little motorhome, and all it's filled with horns, and the guy's he's something. But so it's an exciting project. I'm hoping we can unleash it soon and let everyone hear it, a little more of it.
Before I forget, you should. Where all is your material available? Is it just the www.theprocessonline.com?
Well, your best place to find us probably, CD Baby, our distributor, has pretty much closed up shop. They're not selling CDs out of their store anymore. So whatever links to that are dead. Probably, I'd go to Amazon and search by name the album that you want to get. And Amazon's got it. If most retailers have it. They still distribute the physical copies. So, they still distribute physical copies. So, there's any special link. Our website is theprocessonline.com. That's where you find the Process website. And then, I kind of kept dabbing the Process on some of our social media together because it just doesn't make any sense to just keep wearing myself out doing all this different stuff. And we play a lot of Process stuff when we play. So it's kind of a natural progression for me. To
mention, it kind of goes in line with the whole On You Sound, where you have Tackhead or Fats Comet and the Mafia.
Right. It's not a band, it's a group. Yeah. It's a group, then even though we try to keep the same members going out. But I was real happy with the guitar player, this guy, Dave Ivory. He's gold. He's the guy we're playing with now. He's amazing. And then Bill Petzel, the bassist, is great. Derek Davis, the drummer. Great group. And sometimes we come out with a bigger band, but that's the core 4 that we're working with. So,
well, we've been going for almost an hour here. I'll go ahead and close out with "There's a Fire," the David Asher Band tune. But I want to thank you again for being on the show. It's been a pleasure finally talking to you. And
yeah, John, it's awesome. Good for you, man. I think it's great that you're doing this, and I'm sure you're gonna have a lot more people willing to talk with you.
Yeah, I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
And anything you want to say in closing?
Well, this is a new tune. It's from the Dab album, and we're just going to hear a little bit of it, but it's kind of a monster. It's called "There's a Fire." Maybe we'll hear it.
I'll stop streaming in just a minute.
There we go.
And then let's stay on the line just a minute.
just can't quench this fire. Fire burning over me, burning, burning higher. There's a fire over me, just can't quench this fire.